Let's find out
Taylor,
what do the people want?
What's the topic for today?
The topic is, how do you know when it's time to make the leap from side hustle to full-time?
Ooh. Let's answer that one today, right now.
I like your vest.
I have not worn this vest ever.
I know.
I think Marcella got this for me.
Marcella got it for you.
And it's the first time I'm wearing it. Maybe the second. I put it on for a second. But like I actually wore it and felt good. I was like, ooh, that looks kind of cool.
It looks really nice. You almost took it off and I was like, you need to wear it.
Yeah, well, I'm supporting the whale. Although there's no whale on this thing right now.
No, nobody knows what you're talking about.
Well, if you're watching this, you know that it's a Vineyard Vines vest.
But some people don't know what Vineyard Vines is. I actually had never heard of it until you made me go into a store.
Which I never owned anything before Marcella, before she bought me something.
Okay, so this is all her fault. She's quite fashion forward.
Well, no,
so
and then I ended up going. I found it. Actually, this is really funny because then I found a Vineyard Vines somewhere, and I was like, "Ooh, I'm gonna go buy a pair of shorts." And I came. I was in Florida, and I came back home, and I was like, "Marcella, look, I bought a pair of shorts from Vineyard Vines." She's like, "Oh, Vineyard Vines is not cool anymore." I was like, "What?" Like you just bought me that vest like 2 months ago.
That is too accurate.
Yep. It was like Vineyard Vines everywhere, and then all of a sudden. No longer matters.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So do you feel like you're hip? Do you feel like you're fashion forward or no?
I feel like a 60-year-old dad, you know.
You both look
VC bro.
Amazing and like a 60-year-old dad at the same time. So congratulations.
All right. Well, your hair looks good.
Thanks.
Cool.
Appreciate that.
All right. Let's go answer some questions about that. Let's find out what do the people want?
What's the topic for today?
The topic is, how do you know when it's time to make the leap from side hustle to full-time?
People ask this a lot because you would think that there's a very clear indication as to when you can depart your current full-time work for your passion. Was that obvious for you when that happened?
It was obvious long before I made the leap. I think you paralyze yourself because you start thinking like, oh my God, I'm not going to have a job. Or you have that lifeline of a paycheck. So
yeah, it's nice.
It was obvious long before that point.
But you felt paralyzed.
I just didn't have I just didn't have it in me to let go of that because, you have bills, things add up. I had just bought a condo. I had just bought a car. I had, like things. You don't set yourself up that way. You don't think that way until you get to a point where you're just like, I'm so over this. I'm going to figure it out. Mm-hmm. But yeah, initially it wasn't easy to make the jump.
Mm. Yeah, I guess I would say that it wasn't the right time when I knew it had to happen for me. So when I knew it had to happen, it was at least a year before I gave in my notice to my job. I don't think it's because I knew it was going to be a year. I just couldn't know that I was about to start something and it was eventually going to be my full-time thing. And I actually was losing sleep, again, a year before I gave notice because I was thinking, wow, I'm going to disappoint my boss. I'm going to disappoint the people I work with. I made a lot of great relationships here. I thought this was going to be my forever job. Like, I really lost sleep over it, but it wasn't because I was scared to make the leap. It was because I was like scared that I knew this big thing was going to happen.
Yeah, and I think, the question specifically was when, right, Taylor? Like when?
Yeah.
So I'll quickly, for me, it was, I realized that, so here's the thing, I'm working a job and I hated it. I had been doing some stuff on my own, a couple hours here and there during the day. Then you go home at night and you want to play with a dog or you want to watch TV, make dinner, whatever you're trying to do. But you're like, crap, I need to go and now do more work because I only have a couple hours during the day that I can even get it done.
Yeah.
Before I wake up, before I leave for work, maybe on my lunch, which some people might not even feel comfortable doing that, but I would do some on my lunch. And then, maybe I make phone calls on the way home from the office, like something like that, because I had an hour commute at that point. Mm-hmm. So I would use time in the morning and time after work during my commute to make calls that I needed to do. But then you still have to do more work. So you end up kind of working all day from, 6 in the morning to 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night. At one point, it was one client that I had gotten a significant amount of money from, and I said, man, if I could just get one more client like that, and then it was if I can get 2 more clients like that, and it wasn't that difficult. It was just that I didn't have the time to physically do it.
Right.
But if I had more time, and that's when I was like, I gotta make the jump. And it was more of a forcing myself to make the jump, not because I knew what was going to happen. I didn't know where I was jumping on. I'm jumping off the cliff, and I had no idea if there was something going to be there underneath me. But I put faith in the fact that I had gotten one client, I can go and get another one, and another one, and another one. And I had in my head, if I just get 2, I'll be fine, for the time, for that short period, like right away. And then once I got 2, I was like, well, if I can get 4, I'll be even better. And then once you got 4, it was like, well, so it got to the point where I just started looking at things that way. I didn't have to go and get the, 8-figure contracts. I just needed these decent sized clients, and I only needed to get another one and one more. And I didn't ever pressure myself into that. But until I realized that more time in my day spent on my business equaled more money or more opportunity for myself, that's when I finally jumped.
That's so funny because I felt the exact same way. I was not completely set up when I decided to make the leap. But it came down to the fact that when you can't take calls between 9 and 5 for your business, that your clients are looking at you in a different way than if you were readily available for them. So they're not sending you the most amount of work that they probably could. And there may be opportunities, of course, passing you by because you don't have that level of availability. So when I left, same thing. I had 1 or 2 solid clients, but I had to take a big chance, get my affairs in order accordingly to be able to take the risk and say, I have to give this thing 100% of my time in order to figure out if it's a real thing. Because for me at that moment, it was like not having too many commitments, too many things that were going to make it too risky for me. And I think everybody has to make that decision for themselves. But back to your original point, this is why in our business coaching group, we talk about what's your number. Because if you think about it, just the way that you were talking about, having 1 client or having 2 clients, like what is that number? A lot of people don't reverse engineer. What is like straight up, how do you pay your bills? How much is that? Just come up with what that dollar amount is and figure out how many clients at X number of dollars per month is that, so that you can start to actually wrap your mind around the fact that you're getting closer to being able to go side hustle to full time. Are you there? Are you halfway there? Are you 2/3 of the way there? Are you not even close?
Right.
If you did get 40 more hours back in your life, could you hit that number? That's your minimum. That's your minimum, and then going from there.
What most people fail to see at that point, that inflection point in their life, is that it's a math problem. It truly, truly is a math problem. I think romanticizing certain things at that point is probably the worst thing you can do. But you don't want to tell people not to go after their passions, right? But when you're trying to make that jump and I'm sick and tired of working here, or I'm sick and tired of not being able to go and do something I want to do, you're going to have to make a mathematical equation. And like you said, reverse engineer, whether it's your expenses, whatever it is, reverse engineer the amount of clients you need, reverse engineer what you charge. I mean, there's so many people that are like, oh, well, how do I, what do I charge? Like, that's the first thing they're worried about. And it's like, that's the simplest thing you could figure out, because it's a math equation.
Actually, part of that math equation is, can your partner support this time?
If
they're working full time.
If you have a partner at that point, I did not have anybody at that point. It was just me. So my jump was fine. Was pretty easy to make. But yeah, if you do, I mean, that's probably a big deal, right? Like you want to know, like, are they in support, not just financially, but do they support you your mental health.
That's a whole
and
nother
support
thing.
all that.
I was just talking about the financial problem.
Yeah,
but
sure.
but for sure, yes, it's a whole thing, because not only do you need to have this conversation, like we are taking this chance together and here's big picture, but let's talk about what this looks like from a math problem, because fully communicating that is so important. You don't want somebody to get to the point where they're feeling jaded about the fact that they are fully funding operations for the family while you're doing this thing. And you're not exactly able to say when your side hustle is going to take off to the point where you're spending full-time time on it and it's going to support you full-time. You've just got to give it that time to be able to figure it out. You can, come to a conclusion with your partner, like, let's give it 3-6 months, but like 3 to 6 months is not really enough time.
No.
It doesn't mean you can't make full-time income in that amount of time. You absolutely should be able to, but,
For sure.
but it really depends on everyone's situation.
No.
But back to the original point, it's that math problem. There's a possibility somebody's full-time job could pay for everything while you're navigating this, but you have to be on the same page about it.
Yeah. And the time, if we go back to the original question and the original point that you made, it really is, you feel it. You do feel it. And you feel it. You get to a point where you are just so jaded going to work, which is not healthy, first of all, for your mental health, for your, just your health, your stress levels, like everything. But also you get to a point where your work suffers. Your actual job that's paying you suffers. So that agita that you feel in your stomach that you're like, I can't quit. At the same time, if you've been mailing it in for 6 weeks because you're working on something else, I guarantee you your boss probably even knows.
Yeah.
That happened to me. I was pretty transparent that I did have something else going on, and I've been an advocate of that, where it's like, just be transparent with your boss when you have a side thing. Some people think, well, it's none of their business what I do in my free time. And I'm like, yeah, but your free time creeps into your work time when you're maybe, I don't know, using a resource that work pays for to leverage, you know what I mean? So like, yes, my boss pays for Creative Cloud, and this is no example for anybody here. My boss pays for Creative Cloud. Well, then you go home and use it for your own project. Like, that's creeping in. And like, those are things you have to be cognizant of. So I think just being transparent is always,
also,
top of the list.
I agree with that, because I think your boss can then take advantage of the fact that if they're seeing, especially if there's synergy between your existing job and your side hustle, that if you're showing you're taking initiative in your own projects, but that same passion can be reflected in your work, that's a great thing. So it's not a big deal if you're using similar resources. I don't know, like the ins and outs of that, I think is dependent on someone's situation. But here's an even better case scenario. What if you get to leave your job someday, but that job becomes a client? Because and this isn't everyone's situation, but if you have a common denominator there where they really do appreciate your work, you do great work, it's just not your thing anymore from a full-time perspective, and you want to be able to open yourself up to doing more projects. How can you help them at least, phase you out maybe, and they're your client instead of you working for them? That's a possibility, and that's one way to go full-time.
That's actually exactly what happened in my situation. I was very clear from day one, like, I do have this thing I do on the side, and on the weekends I'm doing social media consulting. And at the time, social media consulting was more like you're just posting, or but it was a little different, a little more than that. But it was like local, regional businesses, decent size, like nothing, not small mom and pops, and not the clients we have now. It was, good sized clients. And like I said, I was math problem. I just needed one client, or I just needed a second client, and I had two, didn't have enough time, and I knew, my boss knew the whole time what I was up to. And I would talk to him almost like a mentor, and I would kind of go back, and I hated the job. Like, I will be very clear, I hated the job because they didn't fully understand or give me the autonomy that I needed. But I still did it, and I got to a point where I was like, all right, I got a second client. I need to go talk to my boss. I need to say to him, like, hey, this is the deal. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to work here. I really want to go do my own thing. Well, you know what? The day that I left, my last day turned into, he said, would you take on another client? And I was like, yeah, I'd love to. I had no idea where he was going with it. I said, well, I would love to. He's like, okay, well, I can pay you X. And I was like, and it was way more than my other clients were paying. And it was actually more than my salary was. And I was like, what? And so that was it. So my 2 clients turned into 3 in a heartbeat. And I got to leave my job, leave the job and still work with them. So it was like this. Did I get lucky? Yeah, maybe. Not everyone. That's not going to happen to everybody. But it was because I truly believe it was because I was transparent up front. I understood that in my heart, like, it just couldn't do it anymore. And it all worked out that way. And that helped me it helped me survive through those first 3, 6, 9, 1 year, where you finally get into a groove and things start working out for you. But transparency was huge.
Also, because that's a great boss, because that person wants to make sure that they're employing people that are actually doing the job in the right headspace.
100%.
And why not, instead of having you need to go conversation where that's really not going to benefit anybody instantly, say, okay, well, this isn't really working at the agreement we have right now, which is as an employee, but let's change this.
Right.
And then if you don't work together at some point, that's fine. That's just a change in contract, that you go your separate ways. And there's not like this awkward situation of a full-time employee. I mean, like, that person just has a really good head on their shoulders for what they want for their business, is making sure that they have the right people around. And not that you're not the right person, but the right energy needs to be there.
No, for sure. There's a lot of things that culminate when you get to that point. You just have to keep your eyes open to start realizing everything that's going on in your life and everything that's going on in your business and your job, whatever it might be. But I truly do believe that there is a lot of benefit to being transparent and open with side hustles. I don't even like that phrase, but whatever. I think being transparent, right now, I think there's too many people that feel like they can't share the side hustle. And that's because it's been taboo for so long, or it's been like, oh, you can't. That means your boss is going to instantly know that you're not putting 100% into your work. And that's why, to me, it's very important to be transparent. I know LinkedIn does something. They used to, at least. If you worked at LinkedIn, the day you started, one of the questions was, "What's your next step? What are you looking for? Like, what is your goal? Let's talk about your career."
As an employer, you're saying.
As an employer, so. I think it's going to be easier to have these types of conversations with employers down the road. But if you're still stuck in a situation where, your employer is not open to a side hustle, I still think that the transparency is crucial.
And well, let's talk about, like, this is like a very particular situation. If someone has a full-time job and it's like McDonald's, and it's like in no way aligned with their graphic design specialty, right?
Sure.
So this isn't even like a relevant conversation to them.
Yeah.
Asking the question, when can my side hustle become my full-time, is usually back to the same point. Who are you sharing it with?
Yeah.
So I've dealt with this so much, and it's really interesting because it's very relatable to me, but I didn't realize how relatable it was to me. Clients that I've had in the past who have said, like, I'm doing this, but I haven't really told anyone. I don't really want to tell anybody I know. I don't have a network. Whenever anybody says I don't have a network, I'm like, well, do you have a mom? Like, do you have a friend? Do you have? And so they're not talking about it with their immediate because they're concerned about that perception. And those are usually the people who will go to bat for you if you just give them the vehicle, if you give them the message, right? But you don't talk about it when it's a side hustle. And then you're trying to figure out who is going to give you the permission to take it to a full-time level. But you haven't even told your immediate, like, what your side hustle is, what your passion is. And now you're going to try to get them on board with the fact that you're going to leave your full-time job and start a full-on company that they're not even really sure where you're at with it. We have to get more comfortable talking about the things that we're excited about, not just the things that are annoying us. It's so easy to talk about drama. What are the things you're excited about? Because we really make decisions for other people that they're not going to be there for us when we say we want to do something. Like, we're passionate about starting this business, or that we're starting to freelance because we're trying to find something we're actually excited to do. We make the decision for everybody around us that they're not going to cheer for us. It's good for you to be realistic about that, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't talk about it.
Yeah, you know it's the right move when you start telling everybody about it. And then you're like, this is it. Yeah. This is what I want to be doing. this is what I need to be doing. If you're still hiding it, you're probably not ready. That's general. If you're trying to feel things out for yourself, if we're going based on feelings, and I think that's very important, as well as the math equations and things like that. But if you're going by feel and you're trying to ask yourself when, it's when you're talking about it with everybody and you're able to put it out there, then you know you're ready to really just go headlong into it. It is very much a leap of faith. I will not sit here and tell anybody that it's like, oh,
yeah, I don't think it's
easy.
turnkey at all.
Oh, you're just going to jump right in. Well, are there people that will get lucky with certain things?
Sure.
Absolutely. Is that going to be the norm? No.
It has been the rarity for me to meet somebody who had enough clients to leave their full-time job. Mm-hmm. That happens. It totally happens. If you hustle like crazy, you're talking about it. If you are in the same way, if you're not talking about it, you're not ready. If you want to be ready, talk about it.
Yep.
Start acting like you are full-time of that thing.
I agree.
Stop acting like it's this side thing that you're just trying out. If you want it to be full on, act full on. Mm-hmm. And I really think that that's the truth. And then maybe you get to a point where your partner doesn't have to work anymore. Your partner works with you. You start to become, this couple in business together, no matter how you're partners, and start to build it together so that you're actually on the same page. You're not working different hours. You got somebody with a 9 to 5 and somebody with a 5 to 9, and then the 5 to 9 becomes the full time. But the full time is more than 40 hours a week. When you start a business, it's more than that. But yeah, I think that's what's really special is when you act like you want it to be your full-time thing. You go full on, and then you get to a point where you and your partner can do it together.
And that's probably an entire episode in itself.
It is.
I think we can record that in its own, we can go into that, like when you work together with your partner for sure.
Yeah. Okay. We'll make that part 2.
Want to do that?
Yeah.
Part 2? All right. So stick around for part 2. We'll record. We'll actually sit here and we'll just record this next.
Perfect.
Going into business with your significant other or your partner, however that works for you. Make sure you tune into that episode next.
Yeah. Let us know what you thought of this on Instagram @CommonGoalPod.
5-star reviews only.
5-star reviews is what Vin wants. I want your true and honest review. So
No, just DM us 5-star.
Okay.
Because we'll screenshot it and post it.
No, if you're gonna have 5 stars, put the 5 stars in the review.
Just put the 5 stars in the review.
All right. We'll see you on the next one.